She made it.
I made it.
How's everybody doing this morning? It's our birthday Monday, Scorpio season. How you doing, boo? How you feeling today?
Doing really good today. So far so good. I spent yesterday playing outside in nature. I went to the botanical gardens and I spent like the whole day up there.
Oh, nice. I love
hmm
that. How's the weather over there? How's the weather been in
It's
Chicago?
really nice. It's like it's cooling down a little bit. I'd say it's maybe like 70, maybe like 65, 70. It was
Oh,
warm enough to just be like in a sweatshirt at the botanical garden yesterday.
oh,
I
I
went there
love
like
it.
in a hoodie and a jacket, and after like walking for a little bit, I'm like, I think I need to go back to the car and take my jacket off.
To shed some layers, yeah. It's
Yeah,
been super cold here in Portland, so I'm like, oh, I want to go outside, but I've just been doing my yoga inside and everything.
that sucks.
Um, yeah, it is what it is. It's part of the weather thing over here in Portland. So, but I'm so
Mhm.
excited to have you back. You want to tell us a little bit about
Yes.
yourself? You want to introduce yourself for those of the folks that don't know you?
So my name is Lotus Elise here on Instagram. I am an astrologer and a hoodoo practitioner, and I really focus a lot on dark feminine liberation and sort of like shadow integration, shadow work.
Yes.
And I'm a Libra rising, Taurus sun, Leo moon, and I've known Louis for a few years now. We are
Yeah, we go
online
back.
friends turned real life friends.
Yeah, we go back like a good like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We met online through Instagram and everything, and so it's been such a journey that we've grown on, and I've watched you growing as an astrologer and as a spiritual practitioner, and leaving your job to doing this full time, which is a
Yes,
big leap. So it's been exciting
definitely.
to watch all
Yeah,
of
I've
your
been doing
growth.
this full time for it'll be 4 years in February.
Wow, that's
That went by
crazy.
so fast.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, it does go by really
That's
fast.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so cool to have you here. So yeah, I'm excited. All of you guys know me, Louis the Soul Sage. You guys know me. So I'm excited to dive into Scorpio season with you. One
Yes.
of my favorite seasons, obviously, because I'm a Scorpio
Obviously.
and I got a lot of Scorpio placements and stuff. And a lot of us were the Pluto and Scorpio generation, so we know Scorpio energy. Even if you don't know it, if you got Pluto and Scorpio, you're pretty familiar with Scorpio energy.
Mhm.
So I'm excited. So do you want to talk a little bit about the sign of Scorpio? You want to lead us off and talk about a little bit about the sign of Scorpio?
Okay. So Scorpio, as everyone I'm sure is already familiar, is sort of like that dark, sexy vibe. A lot of people always associate Scorpio with like sexual energy and like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And that is part of it, but just like everything, it's like a frequency. There is like a spectrum of colors on there. And the part that I love most about Scorpio and eighth house energy is just like the magnetism and the healing. I feel like you can really like command people's attention, and you can also really hold space for people in a way that like the average person really cannot. I think that Scorpio and eighth housers have this capacity to really see people in a way that a lot of times people like feel uncomfortable being seen in that way. But
Hmm.
like when Scorpios or eighth housers enter your life, it is because you have been subconsciously calling them, like your higher self has been calling them in because you are ready for that change and transformation in some shape or fashion. And one of my favorite archetypes for Scorpio and Pluto is Venom from Spider-Man
Yeah. Uh-huh.
because he is just like he's that symbiote that like cloaks over Spider-Man, and like Spider-Man is like fighting it at first. Like Peter Parker is like, no, like I'm good and I don't want to do this. And then Venom is like, no, but like we can be both. And like
Yeah.
either way, like this is part of us. Like this is all of this is parts of us. And I really love that about how Venom sort of is that archetype for Scorpio.
Yeah, you got me thinking about like how, Scorpio is connected to like parasites and viruses and like infections and
Yeah.
disease. And it's
Yes.
like he has to live with this like parasitic thing, right? That changes his identity and changes his personality, and it kind of
Yep.
influences him, and I
Mhm.
think sometimes Scorpio, there with being a Scorpio, right, and embodying that energy, and living my sun out as a Scorpio in this lifetime, and my Venus out and my Mercury out, as with Scorpio in this lifetime. I really think about the intensity of Scorpio, but also the toxicity of Scorpio, and how like Scorpio can be very like kind of masochistic a little bit.
Oh
Scorpio is
yeah.
ruled by Mars, and the feminine side of Mars, or the receptive side of Mars. And when we're really thinking about Scorpio, we think about this kind of like darkness and this sadistic sometimes nature, this love and this passion for hurting the self or hurting others, but it's like this deep pain and this deep woundedness that usually comes with Scorpio. So
Mhm.
people that have those eighth house placements, whatever planet you have in the eighth house or whatever you have in the sign of Scorpio, usually there's something traumatic associated with that placement.
Yes.
Venus and Scorpio, traumatic love, right? Like you have the karma of betrayal and cheating and deception and love that you got from your parents, right? And you'll see this
Mhm.
with Scorpio placement. Sun in Scorpio, traumatic relationship with the father. Moon in Scorpio, traumatized relationship with the mother. Oh Lord Jesus, that's one of the most difficult ones, right?
I
And
know.
and yeah, so and then we think about how the like the feminine planets, or like the loving tender planets like Venus and the Moon, they go into their detriment in Scorpio. They're afflicted in the sign of Scorpio, right? And so
Mhm.
but yeah, with Scorpio, that energy of death and rebirth, and that energy, and what I love about being a Scorpio, and what I love about Scorpio energy, what I've grown to appreciate, is kind of like this inner resilience and this ability to let shit go when it needs to be let go, and to accept like, okay, this is done, right?
Mhm.
And like this, and me moving through this ending, me moving through this transformation, or me realizing that there's parts of myself that need to be shed in order to be a better version of myself, right? Like Scorpio is able to realize that. Not all of them though. And I think that's one of the things I was also thinking about when I was thinking about this portion of the live. I was thinking about like, okay, if a Scorpio is bad, they're real bad. Like
Oh
they can be
yes.
real toxic, and they can
Mhm.
like bring everyone down around them, and be this like, just this overflowing, well or cesspool of toxicity. Or they can be this tremendous healer and this powerful figure and this guide and this light. But you also mentioned something about, the Scorpio gaze, and when Scorpios look at you, it's like they're penetrating deep into your soul. Yeah, because Scorpio has that like investigative energy and that detective
Mhm.
energy. And if you're acting a type of way, Scorpio's gonna sit there and look at you and be like, is this motherfucker lying to me right now? Like, so there's that
Yeah.
kind of discernment, and that innate intuition for being able to detect lies or things that are not true. Or even be able to see into people's motives and intentions, which is a
That part.
very big Scorpio thing. I think Scorpio is a sign that's really driven by motive and intention and passion. And sometimes that can be a little scary, a little overwhelming, and the ability of Scorpio to see beyond the surface level of things. Sometimes people that don't want to be seen, they're a little afraid, a little triggered by that energy, by
Mhm.
that Scorpio energy.
Yeah, and then since Scorpio is this fixed sign and they're so closely linked to alchemy and the occult, a lot of times that's where that manipulation portion comes in, because Scorpio's like, okay, like you may not be doing what I want, like in my face, right? But like I
Mhm.
have other ways of controlling you and getting you to do what I want you to do. Like hold
Yes.
that thought. Like I'm gonna go light a candle. It's like
Yeah.
that kind of vibe. And so that's where that like manipulation and control piece kind of comes out, because like Scorpio, I think, is also very much a loner sign,
Yeah.
but it's a loner that wants to be alone with their person. And
Yeah.
like when their person is not providing that like safety blanket, or not allowing them to sort of like I don't even know what avatar would be like the soft and squishy version of Scorpio, but it's like whoever their person is, where they can have their stinger like at rest.
Yes. And like,
If
yeah,
that
bring
person isn't available to them at that time, like mm, they can do some things that are not so nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. And
Mhm.
And I just, Scorpio is one of those, is the other karmic love sign, It's like Aries and Libra and it's Scorpio and Taurus. And you were talking about like, how Scorpio, they use manipulation to control different ways. And because Scorpio is on the axis with Taurus of resources, that's what we'll see Scorpio get you. Oh, don't worry about it, babe. I'll pay for everything. Just move in with me, right? In your mind now. It's like Scorpio
Right.
bringing you to
Move
their
in with me
lair.
and give up your life and your job. And we're also moving across the country. So all of your other support system is gone too. You're for me.
Exactly. All
You're
you
for
need
me.
is me.
All
It's
you
like
need is
Hades.
me.
Yeah, it's like Hades
I
and
can be
Persephone.
anything that you need me to be.
Yes, and that manipulation and that kind of like that control, but it's like subversive. It's like you won't even realize it. You don't even realize
Yes.
Scorpio has brought you into their lair and has like, and all of a sudden you're like, you wake up, you're like, oh my God, like I'm sleeping next to the devil, like right? Like that's how it can be sometimes with
Yeah,
the
that's that
control.
venom
Yeah,
aspect. It's like the
yeah.
symbiote aspect. It's like before you realize it, you're already cooked.
Yeah. Yeah. Scorpio is one of those signs that has a lot of karma with relationships. And we see this a lot because, if you put Scorpio on the rising in the 12th house to have Libra, in the 8th house to have what is that? Gemini, and then yeah, and then in the 4th house to have Aquarius. So, they have all the social signs in the trauma houses, all the
Yeah.
relationship signs in the trauma houses. And so Scorpio has a lot of karma associated with love and relationships. Venus rules their 12th house and their 7th house, right? And so we see Scorpio, we see their darker side sometimes come out really when they are in love and they get, obsessive and they get controlling and they get jealous and all
Yes.
this like karma, all this other stuff about them starts to come out. And I think Scorpio sometimes is overwhelmed by the intensity and the passion of love. And Scorpio being the sign that is karmic with relationships, there's a lot of things associated with trust as well. And I think Scorpio, if they don't feel that trust, they don't feel that deep connection, that deep soul level love, they're going to do everything they can to kind of force it on the other person or try to change the person or even manipulate the situation so that they feel that sense of trust, right? And it's
Mhm.
very intense. Loving a Scorpio is not for everybody. Being in a relationship with a
No.
Scorpio is not for everybody. Like because
Or even like an
Scorpio
eighth
is
houser, because a lot of those
yes,
qualities is me.
yeah, it's
A
you.
lot
Yeah,
of those
the eighth
qualities
house
is
sun.
me. And
Yeah,
like trust is like such a high level of currency that
yeah,
like once it's been violated, it's just like once you're dead to an eighth houser or a Scorpio, like I will pray for you because I don't think that they really revive many things from the dead,
no, they don't. Like
you
once it's
know?
done, especially once there's a pain or a betrayal or a heartbreak, a lot of times there's no going back, because
Mhm.
the trauma, the karmic trauma that Scorpio experiences with love in general, with betrayal, it starts very young. And so it's like, many times, me being a Scorpio, I have Venus in Scorpio, Sun in Scorpio, I think about like many times when I even see an inkling of like a lack of loyalty or like a cheating energy or like you lie to me, oh my God, red flag, weapons up, walls up, it's like a little intense sometimes, and it's hard to forgive and forget as a
Mhm.
Scorpio
And it's
being
also
eight,
really hard to reprogram because like eighth housers a lot of times and Scorpio, like you said, like that fourth house is also a place that wasn't safe. So it's
yes.
just like
Mhm.
we are our own source of safety. And
Yeah.
when we let you into that inner world and you're not like valuing that, that
Mhm.
is like really how you will bring out the worst in Scorpio. That
Yeah.
it really is.
That's so, so true. That's so true.
Mhm.
And values, Taurus, Scorpio on the axis, the values that bring closeness and connection and the ability to merge, the willingness to kind of let go of your walls and merge and become a
Mhm.
unit. I think that's a very scary thing for a lot of people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, some of the shadows, someone was saying, someone commented, but they're also sneaky themselves. And yes, I do believe Scorpios are very, very sneaky. They have Gemini
Definitely.
in the eighth house, you know, and they're calculated and they think about things. They're like, they think deeply about things. They have obsessive thoughts and they can be very secretive. They have Libra, the sign of relationships, in the 12th house. So they can,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Scorpio does that out of trauma, as a response to trauma. And I think Scorpio also does that because it's in a way to prevent themselves from getting hurt. So it's like, if I
Yeah.
cheat before you cheat on me, right? If I have another option, and if I have this other thing on the side, then I'm protecting my heart, or I'm protecting myself, or I can't like get hurt, or you know, I have a way out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or also in that same frequency is just like really paying attention to the vibes, like
Yeah.
really over analyzing everything. Cause like you said, that Gemini in the eighth house, it's like they notice like the subtle nuances in how the vibes have changed.
Mhm.
And that's like both a gift and a curse, because it's like, okay, like I'm seeing how something is maybe changing. How can I proactively like fix it before that ripple turns into like a break? But that's
Yeah.
also feeding into the ways in which we may lean towards manipulating people because we want them to do what we want them to do. And
Yeah.
like Scorpio and Taurus is very much like mine,
Yes.
mine. So
Yeah.
like
Yes.
mine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Scorpio, Taurus, these are the signs of possession, of belonging. Like,
Yes.
you belong to me, you're mine. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think sometimes they're, you know, Scorpio having Taurus in the seventh house, they're treating their partner like property. Like, you belong to me. Like, you know, I have a deed on you. Like, you know, I'm paying a monthly mortgage on you. Like, you know, it's
Yes,
like
I'm
that
investing and I'm getting a
intensity.
return on my investment before this thing is over because you got me fucked up.
Because you got me, yeah. And I think that sometimes, you know, Scorpio doesn't want to let go. It's the fixation of Scorpio, I think, sometimes, that they don't want to let go. They don't want to surrender. But it's also interesting because I was thinking about how Scorpio has Pisces in the fifth house of love, and how sometimes they could be delulu, and they can also want to rescue or save the broken, or they can have a little bit of this pattern of, you know, seeing people that are weaker than them or not as intelligent or whatever, and being like, oh, that person, I can like pull them in my orbit, right? Because like I'm smarter than them, or I have more resources than them, or I'm more whatever, right? And it's that, and I think Scorpio is one of those signs that, you know, they like to be more powerful in relationships in many different ways, whether it be psychologically, whether it be with resources, whether it be whatever, because it gives them a sense of, this person needs me, or this person respects me, or this person, you know, I have more power in the relationship, so things will go my way. But that's a very, very unhealthy, toxic way to approach relationships. You know, Scorpio
Mm-hmm.
needs to really be aware of the fact that they need an equal, and they need a partner that's going to balance them out, and that's not going to play into their traumas and play into their triggers and play into
Yes.
their fears and stuff.
Or someone who is not going to weaponize those things, because
Yeah.
like information is very valuable to us. So
Yeah.
if we unmask, if we divulge something that is very personal, that not, maybe we can count on one hand how many people we've shared this information with, like
Yeah.
that is also very that's very important to us. And this is
It
like when
is.
we find people that we can be soft and squishy with and be vulnerable with, like it's really hard to let them go.
It is, yeah. You know, I was also thinking, because Scorpio has Gemini in the eighth house, this is why they deal in secret information. And this is also why you're not going to be able to, like, a Scorpio is not willingly going to tell you everything. You have
No,
to ask the
never.
right
You
questions.
have to
Like,
ask the
and
questions.
yes, and I think about this with myself. Like, I'm like an open person because I've practiced disclosure and I've practiced openness as a Scorpio, and I've had to learn that over many years. But most of the time, it's me asking questions, getting information from others, and not me really divulging or opening up about myself in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yes.
and I like noticed this when I worked in banking and with the work that I do now as an astrologer and stuff. I'm so good at getting everyone to tell me everything. But when you ask about me, very, you know, you have to ask the right
You
questions.
get limited access.
You'll
Yes.
get limited access because you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio knows the value of information. and they know the value of secrets, and they know the value of this is what I know. And Scorpios deal in value, in information value or information dealing. Right. This is why
Mm-hmm.
they're spies, and this is why Scorpio rules over espionage, and why Scorpio rules over detective work, because why
Yes.
people will pay a pretty penny for that secret hidden information. And that's what people are coming to me all day for, or coming to us all day for, right? Like they come to you for an astrology reading or tarot reading, and they're like, okay, I want to, well, tell me what's going on with this man, you know? You're like, let me pull cards on him and see where he's at, right? That's kind of like that
Mm-hmm.
detective work, that getting that information, on others,
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
wouldn't have
And
access
that's
to.
definitely something I've had to work hard at reprogramming in myself, because like being an eighth houser, having Taurus and Gemini placements in the eighth house Placidus, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of that Scorpio chart resonates with me because I got that Aquarius IC and all of those things. But I always felt like I'm an open book. Like I have no problem talking about myself, but it's just like you're not forthcoming with that information. People
Yeah.
have to really ask you a specific question. And even then, like that answer is going to get quickly like analyzed in your head, and you're going to mull over like, well, what level of access does this person really get to have? Because
Yeah.
like, what have they told me? Like this is an even exchange of personal touchy information. Like you tell me something and
Yes.
maybe I'll tell you something of equal or lesser value.
Yeah, yeah, you have that eighth house Sun Mercury, so you get it,
Yeah.
I was also thinking about, what you right now, what you just said about, you tell me something of equal lesser value. I was thinking about blackmail being a Scorpio thing.
Oh, yes.
Blackmail is
Yes,
like,
very
I
true.
know this about you, right? And I will tell people and I will ruin your reputation, right? There's like the kind of like that threatening. That's when we see the Scorpio Mars energy come out. And that's why Scorpio is connected to politics, because it's like,
Hmm.
I have this information and let me ruin your reputation so I can win.
Yes.
That's a very
Yes.
Scorpionic
And in
thing.
that same vibe, like a Scorpio will out themselves so that you don't even get to play that chess piece.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it always
Yeah.
makes me think of that scene in 9 Mile or 8 Mile or whatever with Eminem, where he's doing the last freestyle battle and he just totally like airs his own dirty laundry out in his freestyle. And he's like, what else you got to tell these people about me? And then
Yeah.
his opponent is just like, I got nothing. And it's like,
I
yeah,
got
like you got
nothing.
nothing because now I took away your chance to weaponize information about me against me.
Yeah.
And now I've just won the entire crowd, and I won this rap battle. Like,
Yeah, very true. Yeah, that honesty. If Scorpio can
yes.
get there to that honesty,
And that's something that
yeah.
anyone listening who's a Scorpio or an eighth houser, I really want you to take that to heart, because that has been a hard lesson I personally had to learn, where
Hmm.
like the more you guard your secrets or the ugly parts of you, the more power they have to be weaponized against you.
Against you.
And like
Mhm.
that is like when you really can take away that element of that information, like
Mhm.
you really step into like greater magnitude of power.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I
Mhm.
even think that speaks to Scorpio having Leo in the 10th house, right? Which is like when they are open and honest, and when they really share themselves with the world, all of a sudden there's connection. All of a sudden
Yep.
they have power. All of a sudden they have influence. All of a sudden they're willing to shine, right? But I think Scorpio has a really hard time being vulnerable, because they've gone through so much trauma and they're afraid that they're going to be judged or scrutinized or shamed or ostracized for their experience many times, right? And so
Mhm.
what they share about themselves is that. So I think Scorpio really needs to, cultivate courageousness and bravery with being seen and with being open.
Yes.
And it's like it's something that
Yes.
they need to learn, how to be
Mhm.
really open and how to share themselves and how to be very honest with themselves and be very honest with the world, because when they do that, they get admired for it, and they get
Mhm.
celebrated, and then
Yes,
they
that's
move up
exactly
in
what
life.
brings people towards you.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes you have to tell that story more than once. Chances are you will have to share that story more than once
Yeah.
for the sting to dissipate, where you are
Mhm.
telling the story and like shame is totally removed, and now you see like, wow, like I went to the depths of hell and I live to tell about it. And that's really
Exactly.
like where the alchemy and the magic and the power and the influence and magnetism, that's where all of it comes from.
Yeah, and I love that, like that ability for Scorpio to transmute that trauma and that fear and that shame into like healing, into like power,
Yes.
into like, you know, let me use my story as like a foundation of my success, or as like a foundation of like, you know, what my power and stuff. And I think that's the beauty
Mhm.
of Scorpio, you know.
Yep. Yep.
Someone said something. They said that, you know, I think it was I'm going back here. Someone said, you know, it's not my fault. People love to share it with us, though. That's their problem. And it's true, because Scorpio, they kind of create a little bit of this energy. They're like secret keepers, right? And people love to disclose to Scorpio. People love, and
People
Scorpio,
love to tell me all their deepest, darkest secrets.
yes, and
Like
Scorpio's
even in
there
a
for the
10-minute
tea.
reading at a pop-up, people will be like, I've been married for 40 years and my husband just cheated on me and he's having a baby, but what he doesn't know is that I've already like filed for divorce. And this is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like I
You're
didn't even
like,
start the
whoa,
timer.
nice to meet you. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
People, but you know
Yeah.
what's so interesting is I feel like Scorpio gives people the space to get it off their chest. You know, people, they walk around with like secrets, and they walk around with this stuff that they need to tell and share with someone. And
Yes.
Scorpio gives them that space, and Scorpio's willing to like listen because they love that information. Scorpio loves the tea. They really do, right?
We really,
If a
really do.
Scorpio
Yeah.
tells you, "Oh, I'm not into the drama," no, they're lying to you, because they have
No.
Gemini in the eighth house. They love drama. They do. Okay, they love
And this
drama
is an eighth
generated.
houser with Gemini placement. So I
Mhm.
really do. I really do.
Yeah, it's very cool. Awesome. I love that. I love how we've covered Scorpio. So yeah, so the basics: Scorpio is a fixed sign. Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Modern ruler of Scorpio is Pluto. And yeah, you know, anything else you want to say about Scorpio before we dive into the season?
What else do we want to say about Scorpio? Well, Scorpios may be feeling a little less stingy because of Saturn and Mars sort of where they're at respectively in the other water signs. So
Oh, right now,
if
yeah.
Scorpios
Transit.
in your life have been a little less intense or maybe not as like I don't even know the adjective I'm looking for, but they're not as like as they normally are. It's because of
Yeah.
this sort of like temperance kind of happening in their fellow water signs.
In their fellow water sign. Yeah, Scorpios are definitely feeling some type of way right now, with Saturn going through their fifth and Mars going through their or actually, yeah, Mars going through their ninth and Saturn going through their
Mm-hmm.
fifth. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, all right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this particular Scorpio season. So this is going to be a very spicy Scorpio season. We have some very interesting transits. I was looking at it last night and I was like, ooh, we're going to have a Mercury Uranus opposition. We have what is it? The sun's going to be trying Saturn, so that's going to be very interesting. Are there any kind of key transits or any special things that you wanted to talk about for Scorpio season, or any things that you noticed this season that people should be aware of? Or
The main thing I think is just this Mars action.
yeah,
I feel like that's really giving a lot of like wild card energy, to be honest.
yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. I think
Um,
I think the Mars opposite Pluto that we're going to be dealing with for, you know, the first half of Scorpio season, or for many days, because Mars is kind of, you know, it's interesting because what Mars is doing is he's slowing down to go retrograde in the sign of Leo, right? And he's kind of sitting in this. He's like, I'm going like, I'm looking at like November 2nd, 3rd, 4th. He's literally at 29 degrees, opposite Pluto, 29 degrees. And so I really do think that the Mars in Cancer and the Mars Pluto opposition and then the Mars retrograde, you know, and Mars sitting in this fixed opposition with Pluto, I think there's going to be a lot of like climactic endings, and a lot of like and endings that are not easy, like endings that are painful, endings that are full of war or fighting or arguments, and endings that are permanent in a way where it's like we can't go back from that. We can't rebuild that. That thing just exploded. Like we can't go back to that, right? And so yeah, I do think that the Mars Pluto opposition and Mars in Cancer and Mars retrograding in Leo is going to be a big feature this month. And I think it's going to
yeah.
be digging up a lot of crap for people.
Yep. Especially because isn't Mars is going to be in that last decan of Cancer for all of Scorpio season? Because he doesn't technically go retrograde until 6 degrees of Leo, and that's not going to be until
Yeah.
Sag.
Yeah, he goes, so he's sitting at like 3 degrees Leo, from like the 11th until like the 13th. And then he's at 1 degree Leo, starting on the 7th. So he's good. So he actually ingresses into Leo on November. It's like just before the election, actually. Or on the 3rd. Yeah, he goes into Leo on the 3rd. Um, Sunday? Let me see. Actually, it might be. Yeah, it's like Sunday night, Monday morning. He goes into Leo. So, but yeah, we're gonna be feeling that fixed Mars Pluto opposition,
Mhm.
um, and I even
And what's
think,
interesting is that
yeah.
both of those are rulers of Scorpio and they're at war with each other. They're trying to create balance somehow.
Yes, they're trying to create balance, they're trying to create harmony. But it's like it's the tension between Cancer and Capricorn. It's a tension between the moon and Saturn, right? Because they're in the moon and Saturn signs. So
Mhm.
I think this is going to be a lot. I think this is going to be about government changes and power changes when it comes to leadership, because that 29-degree Pluto needs to accomplish what he's been trying to do like since 2008, and he needs to accomplish it like in the next like few weeks, right? So it's kind of like that Mars Pluto opposition being a defining characteristic all season long and kind of lingering in the air. I think it's going to be bringing a lot of endings, and I think it's going to be associated with like work and career, and I also think it's going to be with elderly people passing away, which is something that we already saw yesterday. I think there was the oldest person in the oldest woman in the United States yesterday passed away, and that was because the moon was in Cancer, right opposing Pluto in Capricorn during
Mm.
nighttime. And so I think we're going to be seeing a lot of kind of like endings in conclusive permanent endings, and but we're also going to see it on like a massive scale. This is also going to be an intensification of war themes, Mars opposite Pluto. Yeah.
Definitely. I think also since it's in the sign of Cancer, I think a lot of the war type vibes are going to be like war on families and homes and things like that. It may not be necessarily like how we would think of war, like
Yeah.
overseas or this or that, because like
Mhm.
this country is a Cancer and we're an eighth house Cancer. And so all of
Yes.
this energy in our eighth house is like, okay, like how is there like a war on women, on families, on homes, on resources, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. And also like you know, I was thinking about war in the family,
Mm-hmm.
amongst the family, like within the
Definitely.
family. I was thinking about that. Yes, I don't know if you saw that story yesterday, but there was that 15-year-old kid that murdered his entire family. Like he murdered like four of his siblings. One of his siblings survived, and he murdered both of his parents, and he was like 15. And so and the Mars in Cancer, opposite Pluto and Capricorn, is like that intense hatred and that intense energy of vengeance. And like you've done so much to me and you've hurt me so many years, and I'm going to like kill. It's like Menendez brother energy. It really is.
Mhm.
Mars opposite Pluto, and I see that in a birth chart. It's one of those extremely traumatic placements where someone experienced an extreme abuse of power and neglect growing up, and
Yep.
or they had a parent that was like would lose it. They would get so angry that they would like lose their ish and like black out with anger. And that's what we get when Mars and Pluto are in a harsh aspect with each other. These are planets that are both abusive. They're both neglectful, right? And they
Yep.
both love power. They both love control, but in different
Mhm.
ways.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
definitely a domestic abuse type aspect in a chart. My
Yeah.
grandmother actually has this at the 0 degree Leo Aquarius.
Oh, she has 0 degree Mars with 0 degree Pluto.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. And she's mean.
And she's mean.
We talked to her. I know that grandma. We've talked to
Yeah,
her.
she's a mean old broad and she's a little tiny thing and she's a Libra sun too. So
Yeah, yeah, that Mars
yeah.
in Aquarius. And I actually think, who had one of the Menendez brothers has a 10th house Mars in Aquarius.
Mm.
I can't remember which one, but I was looking at their chart and I was like, oh my God, like you can see all the neglect and the abuse in their chart. So yeah, I love that. I love the you know, well, not, I don't love that, but I love that you brought it up. I love that you brought
Mhm.
the Mars in Cancer opposite Pluto, and the Mars, you know, going into Leo. I don't think he actually retrogrades until Sag season.
Yeah, I
Like
think it's like that first week of December, the
of
first week of
December.
December.
Yeah, he goes to like, and then Pluto, and then Pluto's gonna go into Aquarius, you know, and I think that's, and Pluto's, so you know, this month with that Mars opposite Pluto being in the air. And I think, let's see, when is, oh yeah, Pluto goes into Aquarius like last day, like last few days of Scorpio season on the 20th. Pluto goes into Aquarius. So this Scorpio season, we're going to see being ruled by that Mars, right? Scorpio being traditionally ruled by Mars, and modern ruler is Pluto. There's going to be a lot of conclusions, a lot of transfers of power. I even thinking about that Mars Pluto opposition with like our election here in the States. Like there's
Mhm.
going to be a huge transfer of power, right? And we're going to see, we're stepping into a new timeline, a new paradigm with that transfer of power here in the States. And it's indicated by that Mars Pluto opposition. Something's going to be dramatic, something's going to be intense, something's going to be possibly shocking, something may even be violent with that Mars Pluto
Yeah.
opposition, you know?
And then part of the shocking, I would say, is also like I think this is why there's been so much drama with food in this country.
Yes.
Why does everything keep getting recalled? And there's all these
Yeah.
outbreaks, and there's all these
The
like, oh,
listeria.
sorry, like this was exposed to, you know, like flesh-eating bacteria. We need you to get rid of it. And it's like this Pluto is making you know, it's trining Uranus, and then Mars is sextile Uranus. So a lot of
Yeah.
it is going to also be just like a roller coaster ride. It's not even like we get to ease in to any of
Mhm.
the maladies that it's going to bring. It's going to be
Yeah.
like gut punch after gut punch, and it's going to be like money, food, resources, home, like
Yes.
all of the things.
Yeah, I was thinking about that whole listeria outbreak with the McDonald's quarter pounders. Like, you know, all the people are getting sick from eating McDonald's quarter pounders because there was
Mhm.
listeria or something in it, right? And I was thinking about for the full moon in Aries, we had Venus at 28, 29 degrees Scorpio opposite Uranus and Taurus. And
Mhm.
that being the toxic food, you know, the toxicity of food, like poisonous food, you know, and that being a feature, that Venus Uranus opposition from the full moon cycle that we're still in. But also, you know, this month we are going to have we're going to have Uranus opposite Mercury. We're going to have the sun opposite Uranus on November 20th. I'm looking at it right now. Like we're going to have these other oppositions to Uranus that bring the shocking, that bring the, you know, whoa, the secretive, because it's Scorpio energy, it's Mercury, Sun, and Scorpio, that bring the, oh, look at the money moves. Look at this politician was putting money into that, paying for that war thing over there. They were investing in that company just before they declared war. They went ahead and moved their money.
Yep.
You know, so it's gonna
Yep.
be like those kind of stories.
Yeah.
And Diddy. He's a Scorpio. He's got Scorpio placements, right? I think he's a Scorpio. And so
Yeah, he's a Scorpio, and then his Mars is at 29 degrees Capricorn.
oh wow. So he's Pluto on his Mars, Mars opposite Mars, right? So
Yep.
there's a reason why his name came to me, because I think, you know, what he's going through, the transformation that he's going through, the revelations, the excavation that's happening with him, where everything is coming out, right? Um, it's really about, I think he's a little bit of a microcosm, or he's kind of like a figurehead of this, a bigger thing that's happening with, like, you know,
Mhm.
with the powers that be, or the wealthy, or, you know, the
Yep.
rich and stuff. And I
And
think
this
many of the,
29
yeah,
degrees is also like it's the final push to solidify the old world agenda. So like back
yes.
to even the food, you know that during the Orange Man's term that he rolled back a lot of the control things that
Oh,
kept the
yeah, the
food
FDA
system
stuff.
safe. Right,
Yes.
he rolled back regulatory things for the FDA and all of these things, and so now those rollbacks poof, now suddenly there's all these outbreaks and contaminations. Why? Because we rolled back the safety precautions.
Yeah, that's so true.
Why? Because we did it to increase profits for the few at the top, because it's never enough. It's an insatiable beast where it is never enough.
Yeah, that's
And
so
like
true.
that inability to like be to be content in what you have is literally also feeding their demise, because
Mm-hmm.
like it's not sustainable. And not only that, but since now we're in Scorpio season, which is like the politics season, and with all of the sudden exposure transits, like these things are being brought to light, because it's like we have to save ourselves.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's kind of this energy of like it's so interesting because I'm thinking about that Saturn and Pisces, trining Scorpio season or trining the Sun in Scorpio in the middle half of this season. And I'm thinking about the lack of boundaries and the lack of like governmental oversight, or even kind of like the lack of governmental support with everything that's happening with the floods, and kind of like the misinformation that's out there and the confusion associated with
Mhm.
what is our government actually doing for us, and how is our government actually helping. And there's all these tragedies, and there's all this chemical outbreaks in the food. And I was also reading an article about how I think there was all these protests happening against like Kellogg and the big cereal companies, because they're still using like red 40, and they're still using all these dyes in cereals here, but then in other countries like in Europe they're using vegetable food coloring, right? So there's a
Mhm.
lot of this stuff associated with toxicity that is going to be coming to the surface,
Mhm.
and I think like we need to pay attention to holding our government accountable, right? To make protecting us in different
Yes.
ways, with health, with medicine, with food, right? All these different ways.
And like
And
resources and healing and medicine is all like Scorpio, and that's 12th house in America's chart. So all of
yeah.
that stuff has sort of been getting manipulated in the background.
Hmm.
Um, and this all stems from like a long time ago, like back in like the 50s and 60s, where they started to regulate, like tobacco, and say like you
Hmm.
guys can't really operate like this. And all they did was pivot, and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna buy up the farmland, and now we'll just like do what we were doing to cigarettes, to the food, and it'll still it'll still fatten our pockets.
Yeah, it's all about money. It's all about wealth, you know,
Mm-hmm.
all about money. It's all about wealth.
Yeah,
When's election day? Is that the fourth or the fifth? I think it's the fifth, right? Is it
I
the fifth?
thought it was the 8th. I don't know.
Election day? Someone said something. They asked about the transits on election day.
It's the 5th.
It's the fifth, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was looking at the fifth, and Sun trine Saturn that day, and then Venus opposite Jupiter that day. So we're getting a new leader. It's interesting.
So Sun trine Saturn, hopefully. To me, that kind of seems like um the ballots are true. Like there's no kind of like fudging the numbers, but I feel like because the ballots are true, who is gonna just throw a fit regardless. You know what I
And throw a
mean?
fit regardless, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because Venus is at 22 degrees that day, opposite of Scorpio degree Jupiter. So that's like the change in leadership. And then the moon goes into Capricorn that day. But that's also the day that Mars goes into Leo. And that's when the big orange one, he starts having his Mars return on that day. So, he's definitely gonna be mad and angry. And I think we're gonna see um the scary thing about the US politics is like the intensity of the polarization, like the extremes of opposites. And the extremes of opposites is like very dangerous when it comes to politics, because you get one side that's like so consolidated and so like far right, and you get the other side that's like consolidated and so far left, and then there is no middle ground. There's like just these two polar extremes. And
Mhm.
so I don't know, it's looking a little intense that day, honestly.
It definitely is. Plus, the moon spends half the day in Sagittarius and the other half in Capricorn. So there could be something weird that happens in the first half of the day, maybe weather-wise, or or what's it called, technology wise, or
Technology wise,
maybe
yeah.
there is something that happens where people can't travel to get to the poles or something like this, which has
Yeah.
already sort of been working itself out in other parts of the country.
Yeah, yeah. Moon Venus conjunction on that day, though. I mean, I think it's looking pretty good for Kamala based on her chart. But you know what's so weird is that they both have placements on that Jupiter Venus opposition. They both have Gemini Sag stuff going on. Like, you know, he has a moon in Sag right on, like literally that Jupiter Venus opposition is right on his Sun Moon opposition in his birth chart on the Trumps, you know.
Mm.
And then she's also a Gemini. So that Jupiter's on her rising and that moon Venus is going to be in her seventh. She's a Gemini rising. So it's so interesting because it's like, which twin, you know, are we going to choose? Because they're both Geminis, you know, I'm like, they're both Geminis, you know? And I don't know about Geminis in leadership. I just don't know about that. I'm still, if there's one thing there's one place that I think that, the Geminis, you know, they should be at the post office. You know, I don't know about being president. I don't know about Gemini presidents.
Well, we had Kennedy, John F. Kennedy was a Gemini.
Oh, he was? Oh, I didn't know that.
And
Interesting.
so was the first Bush, HW, was a Gemini.
Oh, Lordy. He was a Gemini
Mhm.
too. Oh, Lordy. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's crazy. Okay, well, I wanted to talk about okay, how much time do we have? How far are we in? Can you see? I can't see it on my side.
I don't have like a continuous count or whatever, but we've maybe been on for 40 minutes.
For 40-ish. Okay, cool. Okay, we have time. Okay, cool. One of my favorite aspects, actually, there's two that I wanted to talk about, is the Venus-Jupiter opposition. I think the Venus-Jupiter opposition this month, this is going to be happening on the 3rd, is going to be amazing, November 3rd, because you know Venus transiting Sagittarius, she's transiting Jupiter's sign, and Jupiter's in Gemini, right? And we're going to have Mercury in Scorpio, but Mercury is going to be, he's in like a sign-based opposition to Uranus. And so for me, and then Mercury actually goes into Sag on the 3rd, so he's at 1 degree Sag on the 3rd. Yeah. So to me, the Venus Jupiter opposition is going to be about expansion of opportunities and new relationships and new connections. And I think for mutable signs, it's going to be about them getting married and them meeting a soulmate or them going deeper into partnerships. And when we have the two benefics opposing each other, that's usually when people, you know, they purchase a home or they, you know, buy luxurious items or they can get themselves a new car or like something good. But there's just something, we've been dealing with like so many tense, difficult transits, and it's like these good ones are very rare. And so, you know, I think that that Jupiter Venus opposition is something that everyone needs to embrace and lean into, especially if you're a mutable sign, a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag. It's going to be on November 3rd. It's going to be on a Sunday. And then the week after, we're going to be feeling it because Venus is going to be separating from that Jupiter. But I think this is also about, you know, healing and reconciliation with relationships. And I think a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
was just gonna
people,
say because there's that trine to Chiron.
oh yeah, it's a Chiron. Yeah, they're making, yeah, Jupiter's making a sextile to Chiron and Aries. Venus is making a trine to Chiron and Aries. So yeah, so it seems like there's going to be a lot of healing and a lot of like connection, a lot of closeness, and a lot of reconciliation with relationships and people like talking through things and people really moving forward because it's Gemini and Sag. It's like, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Let's do something about it. You know, like
Mhm.
there's this energy of like redemption, of hope and optimism when it comes to certain relationships and certain connections with that Venus Jupiter opposition. So I
Yeah,
like
this
going into
Venus
Sag.
Jupiter opposition is on my Venus Uranus.
Oh, really? Oh, that means something.
Means
Yeah, that
something,
means
I'm sure.
something.
We'll see. We'll see what it
Yeah.
means.
Yeah. And also it's interesting. Somebody said, yeah, my boo comes back from Australia, then yeah, well, Venus and Jupiter and Sag and Gemini is travel, long distance travel, short distance travel. So that may look like people going on vacation or people traveling with the spouse or with the partner, with the family member, or even going to visit to a Jupiterian person, like going to visit a
Mhm.
grandmother, going to visit your guru, or going to visit a spiritual place, you know. That's the Venus Jupiter opposition. So I'm really liking that. And then the other aspect that I think is going to be pretty spicy is the Mercury Uranus opposition. So Mercury and Uranus are going to hit an opposition on the 30th. You know, when Mercury and Uranus are in opposition to each other, that tends to bring shocking, revealing news, and that tends to bring drama, and that tends to bring like sudden decision making and choices where people are like, I'm out. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I need to do something chaotic. I need to change in my life, right? They change their habits, they change their behaviors. But I like that Uranus Mercury opposition because I think a lot of fixed signs that have been like stuck or trapped with something, they're gonna be like, all right, around on this day, around this time, I'm choosing something else. I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing to free myself. I'm gonna rebel, you know, because Uranus has been really working hard on the fixed signs, trying to set their asses free from things. And
So as someone who's been living a Uranus Mercury thing, it's also like not that fun.
yeah, it's also
It's also like not that fun. Uranus has been bouncing between my Mercury and my Sun for like what seems like forever. And I feel like a lot of this is it just like it's like a supercharged mind. And as someone with Gemini placements, like I don't need to charge it up more. And I already have a lot of Uranus in my chart. I don't need to charge up more. So a lot of times I think this is like those nights where you can't sleep because your mind won't shut up. These are days where every fucking thing you encounter is a sign in some shape or fashion. This is one of those days where like, you know, when they put up the board and they're trying to solve a crime and they have like the red strings and this is like, that. This is like, don't you see how it all comes together? And this is also like that energy where you're just like where you're like you feel like you're putting the pieces together, but it's because you've broken things down to like a subatomic level that like of course it makes sense because you could put it back together any way you want now. So
yeah, it's like the mad scientist. It's like it's too much. It's like there's too many ideas. Like I'm overwhelmed with mental stimulation and activity and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, that's definitely possibly going to be a thing for folks with that Mercury Uranus opposition. We do feel very erratic. We feel chaotic when Mercury and Uranus are in opposite or in intense
and sometimes, especially on this
other.
axis, I feel like for me personally, when I'm trying to regulate, like after a market or something, and I've done like 30 readings, and I'm just like, I don't want to be with the people anymore, but I want to be with the people. And this is when I'll go like solo date to the bar, and I'm just like, okay, I just need like some tequila and like background noise because this is how I'm going to like self-soothe. It's also like that kind of vibe too.
Yeah, like let me just get some white noise in here. Let me just
It's like you want to be alone but in a crowd, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm a Uranus person too, and I always tell people like I have a gift for like being able to fall asleep at the mall, like on a bench or at a park. Like I like the energy around me. I like the buzz, and that's relaxing to me, you know?
Yeah.
I have Uranus, Saturn conjunct, and I have Uranus touching my Jupiter, and so I'm a very Uranian person as well. But all right, let's go ahead. I think the last thing that I wanted to do today was talk about the new moon and the full moon.
Okay.
That you're going to be having
The new moon looks kind of good though. I like the new moon.
Yeah, I like the new moon as well. I was looking at the new moon and I'm like, I like it. I like that it's at a Sag degree. I like that it's trine Saturn, but hey, Mars 29 degrees opposite Pluto 29 degrees for the new moon, right?
Yeah.
Mercury opposite Uranus for the new moon. Venus opposite Jupiter for the new moon. So we have a lot of these oppositions. I think that new moon is going to be life-changing for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people, because there's so many oppositions, Mercury opposite Uranus, Venus opposite Jupiter, Mars opposite Pluto, right? I think a lot of people are going to have to make a choice or a decision with two different things in their life. Like, am I going to be with them or am I not going to be with them? Am I going to stay at this job or am I going to leave this job? I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in the air with this new moon because it's a Venus-Jupiter opposition. But I also think that there's going to be certain people that are seeing an ending coming. And they're like, all right, I got to start planning for the future because of the Mars-Pluto thing going on, you know?
I also like the oppositions because they're an invitation for balance. So it could also the chaos can ignite more balance as well.
Yeah, it can
It
call
can
in,
also help
yeah.
sort of nudge you out of your comfort zone, that Uranus Mercury opposition, to like advocate for what you need instead of just being compliant in what's going on around you.
Yeah, that's very true. And yeah, and also, there's that sacred rectangle. So Mercury, Pluto, Mars, and Uranus are all aspecting each other, right? And so we have this kind of like this beautiful sacred rectangle for that new moon in Cancer, or I'm sorry, in Scorpio, and it's going to be with Pluto, Mercury, Uranus, and Mars. So this is like
Mhm.
people taking courageous action to like end something or free themselves from something, or even making a decision or a choice to like move forward and begin something in some type of way,
Yep.
I love that Mars is in the ninth sign away from the new moon, because the ninth house is about faith, it's about your beliefs, it's about the law and righteousness and morals and truth and all that stuff, right? And so I think that with the new moon being ruled by that ninth house Mars in Cancer opposite Pluto, is going to be people really like in doing something to invest in themselves, or doing something to move to go higher up in the world, or move themselves forward in some type of way. And I think that is a beautiful intention setting moon. I think manifestation with that new moon, the first one, that's going to be on the first, right? It's November 1st. Is that the date?
Yeah, and there's also a grand water trine for this new moon as well. So that's also really beautiful, I think, too.
Oh, with Neptune, Mercury, and Mars.
Hmm.
Yes, I just saw that. Neptune is also going to be in on the mix with that Mercury
Yeah.
and Mars. Yeah, we have a sacred rectangle, we have a grand trine. So this
Mhm.
is this is really good for creatives, for intuitives, for spiritual people, like those that, if I think manifestation magic or manifestation ritual for this particular new moon is like a thing, a vibe. I would definitely
Mhm.
suggest that. I would suggest, any kind of, especially because Mercury's involved, like if you wanted to do any kind of writing, manifestation stuff, vision boarding or anything like that,
Mhm.
Neptune's involved. And also people feeling very spiritual, people feeling very emotional, very intuitive.
Yeah, this is a great week to get readings, either a new moon transit reading or a
Yeah.
tarot card reading or something like this.
Yeah. I definitely feel that. Yeah. It's Scorpio. It's a new moon in Scorpio.
Yeah,
What better time to dabble into the occult and get yourself a reading and like check in with spirit, right?
for
Um,
sure.
with that new moon. So, anything else you wanted to say about it?
The new moon's at 9 degrees, so that's
Yeah.
also bringing in that Sagittarius type of vibe. So even though Scorpio very much so is like one of those sort of like commitment, soul merging type signs, like the best way you can really call in love or really solidify a commitment to the other is really solidifying that commitment to yourself.
Yes.
So there is a lot
Mhm.
of energy here for bringing balance in relationships, but a lot of all of that stems from you. Like you are that seed. So I know a lot of people on here are probably thinking about like love spells and all of that kind of a thing. And I want you to like really sort of like change your perspective on that instead of like trying to influence the other to do what you want. Um,
Yeah.
do spell work on yourself so that
Yeah.
those things just want you. I feel like that's just more potent and more long lasting.
Yeah. That's definitely a Scorpio thing. Even when I think about magic, it's like, magic to influence other people. And that is like a big no-no. That's like something we
Mhm.
shouldn't do. It's like we should be doing magic for the self and on the self and to attract what is meant for you, and not trying to
Mhm.
manipulate or control or influence the willpower and the decision making of others. Like, binding people, doing binding spells. Like, be careful with that. Be
Mhm.
careful
Mhm.
with that, because, from a spiritual place, right? And from a morally spiritual place, we want to honor other people's free will. We don't want to, overstep our energetic boundaries and power boundaries and decision boundaries with other people, right? We want to honor other people's choices, and, doing magic to influence other people and to bring them closer to you and to, make them obsessed with you, baby. Let me tell you one thing. I don't if you've watched all the movies, what happens? It always backfires. It's the magic, it's
That's because
never
they're
as it
not
should be.
casting the right spells. I think I agree with yes, you don't want to really have like do the fingers of fate and really like force them to do what you want, but there are ways that you can sort of gently
Oh
coax them to doing.
no, it ended.
Okay.
Hold on. All right, we're back, folks. Sorry about that. I couldn't see the timer and they just cut me off. They were like, "All right, your live is done." So, we're gonna be doing a little part two. This is not gonna go the full hour. And let me get Elise back here. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that. They cut us off. I couldn't see the end timer. I didn't realize that we were being cut off. So I'm gonna bring her back on. We were talking about witchcraft and spell work. Let me bring her back on. There we go. We're not gonna we can't leave you guys hanging like that. We can't leave you guys hanging like that. Okay, and we're back.
Okay, we're back.
Sorry about that, folks. Sorry about that,
No,
folks.
that's funny.
Yeah. So we were talking about so welcome back, everybody. This is gonna be part two of the Scorpio season overview. So we were talking about the new moon in Scorpio, and then we were talking about spell work and influencing other people and stuff. So do you want to lead us off with that or continue with
Oh,
that?
yes. So I feel like there is a time and a place where you do want to influence others, like especially like
Mm.
protection work or hex
Oh
break.
yeah.
You do want to influence their free will. But in terms of love and those types of workings, I think like healing and sweetening work is where you should really focus your energy instead of being like instead of doing the other type of spell work where you bind someone to you or you use your period blood or other type of shit
You
like
put
this.
in blood in the spaghetti.
Yeah, because like that will
Oh, no.
always go left. That will always
Yeah.
go left. Like that blood is so binding that it creates like obsession. And so obsession
Yeah.
can often turn into like stalking. And like there's a very thin line between like wanting your partner to be like obsessed with you and when your partner is like obsessed with you that they're going to like wear your skin. You know what I mean? Like there
Yeah.
is a difference. There's a difference. And
Yeah.
so look, my cousin was unalived after binding her ex-husband. So I
Understood.
believe in like sweetening work and healing work in that term in that
Yeah. Like,
um
yeah, like if the love is already there, you're already in a relationship with them, and you're just trying to like smooth things over, you're trying to bring peace back, you're trying to bring harmony and healing into the relationship, but it's already there. But it's like trying to force and dominate someone and hold on to someone and they have unhealthy toxic energy already, and you're putting
yes.
more energy into that, and it's just gonna it amplifies what's already there, you
Mhm.
know?
And since
So
it's
yeah.
Scorpio, like sex magic is great for this transit, but like, don't
Mhm.
you want your partner to be like a willing participant? Because, like, when a coven comes together and they all share the same intention, spell work is amplified. So, you and your partner coming together with the same intention, the spell work is amplified. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's my suggestion, and that's my views on the whole like love spell work and things like
Love
this.
spell work. Yeah.
Mhm.
It can be a little tricky. I don't do any spell work, but
Mhm.
Elise is a witch, so
Yes, and I have an active altar with jars and things going right now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right now. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So
So
yeah,
even if
so
you don't have a partner, and you're not really feeling like doing like a whole like sit ritual kind of thing, like
mhm.
self-pleasure and setting an intention in your third eye at the time of climax, that's perfect for a Scorpio new moon. And
Yeah.
like that sexual energy is creative energy, it's healing energy, and all of that is like very sacral activation, and that's really, really potent for this new moon as well.
Yeah, sex manifestation and
Mhm, mhm.
masturbation
Yeah.
manifestation.
Yep.
I
I
think
talk
that's
about
a
that on my teaching platform.
Oh, very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So bring this back to the new moon in Scorpio. Jupiter opposite Venus for that new moon. I'm just that transit looks like love and marriage to me. It looks like deep union and deep partnership. And I also think that new moon is going to be, a beautiful opportunity for people to free themselves from unhealthy or toxic habits, since Mercury and Uranus are in opposition to each other. And I think that's what the Uranus Mercury things have been about. We even had we had a Mercury retrograde that started off early degrees Virgo and then it went into Leo, and it was remember it was making that square to Uranus. And I think that was during Leo season, Virgo season. I think it was around there. And so that the Uranus Mercury oppositions, the Uranus Mercury aspects, the squares and oppositions, have been these moments of opportunity to really free ourselves and change the routines and habits that are unhealthy and toxic. And I think Mercury and Scorpio is about toxic habits and toxic behaviors, or even obsessive habits, obsessive behaviors, addictions, and things like that. And that Uranus, Mercury is a beautiful, beautiful opportunity, that new moon, to like really free the self from those unhealthy habits and those unhealthy behaviors, So I'm really liking this new moon. I think this new moon is going to be very climactic and very conclusive for a lot of people, though, because it's the Mars opposite Pluto. We can't get away from that aspect. Okay, so then we have a full moon in Taurus. Have you looked at that full moon?
I thought I had it brought up. Let me see.
I'm gonna go to it right now. I think it's on the 16th or the 17th. Let me see. I think it's
Oh Lordy, it's right on my sun. That's what I was freaking thinking it was gonna be. Oh Lordy.
Yeah.
The full moon conjunct Uranus right on my sun.
It's conjunct Uranus. Yeah, I was looking at that full moon is gonna be a spicy one. So what's so crazy about it is it's like sun opposite Uranus, moon conjunct Uranus, and Venus has moved into Capricorn by that time, and Mars has also ingressed into Leo, and now Mercury's opposite Jupiter. So we had a Venus opposite Jupiter. We had a Venus-Jupiter opposition for the new moon. And for the full moon, we have a Mercury-Jupiter opposition. And so I think this full moon is going to be like, baby, we are wrapping ish up and we are freeing ourselves from the things that are not for us, It's actually on the 15th. It's right at the end. It's all right. It's like Friday the 15th. I wanted to say the 13th, but and it's like right at I think it's what time do you have for the full moon?
It says 15:28, so it's in the afternoon.
It's in
And
the
it says it's
afternoon.
a Taurus rising, at least in the Midwest.
Oh, okay. But yeah, this full moon, my loves, dramatic, really intense. It's conjunct Uranus it's an exalted moon, and I think it's really this is good. This full moon is really going to put people in a different timeline, or it's gonna like wrap things up for people where things have been lingering, where they're really like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm finishing this up. Like we're wrapping this up, because Pluto leaves Capricorn and goes to Aquarius like a few days later. You know what I mean? And then with the Mercury Jupiter opposition, I think this is going to be expansive choices and decisions that people are going to make. People are like, there was more hope for their future. There's more opportunity. People also being willing to take a risk or something like this,
This was also the same degree where the eclipse in 2022 happened. And I
Oh,
know that because so personal in my own chart. This happened on May 16th, 2022. Boom, 25 degrees when we had that. I think it was the Scorpio full moon.
it was a Scorpio full moon. Yeah, and that was the full moon in 2022 that ended up taking my dog, because it happened right on my Venus. Like literally, it was like in June. A few days later after that, it was like June 20. I think it was the next. Yeah, it was in June that my dog passed away. So that was a very personal full moon for me as well. That was a full moon in Taurus, right? Or full moon in Scorpio during
Full
Taurus.
moon in Scorpio, yeah.
Yeah. So
Also, Jupiter Venus conjunction was at 29 degrees Taurus, which is really close to where this new moon, or where this full moon is happening as well.
Oh, so there could be some themes possibly that echo from a few years ago with yeah, that was when the nodes were going through Scorpio.
Yeah, that was like
That was tough.
the end of June this year, I want to say, when we had Jupiter Venus at 29 degrees.
End of June this year?
Yeah. Because it was right before Jupiter went into Gemini.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
think it was like at the end of May or the end of June.
Let me just take a look and see. I'm gonna go back and check. Someone said that's when my abusive relationship ended. Glad you set yourself free. Oh, I think it was May, yeah, because I'm seeing Jupiter here at 4
Oh yeah,
degrees.
here we go, May 25th.
May 25th. Go back.
Venus. Yeah, oh, May 23rd. May 23rd.
Oh yeah, I see him. Yeah, I see him. I see him. Yeah, May
Mhm.
23rd. Yeah. Yep. So this is going to be a very interesting one, especially for fixed signs, you know. I think fixed signs, yeah, there it is. I'm on the day. I think fixed signs, yep, there it is, 24-degree moon. Right opposite that Venus Jupiter, you know, 22nd, 23rd. So yeah, I think fixed signs are definitely going to be wrapping things up in their life, but also, you know, moving forward in new ways, you know.
Yes, I'm hoping that for me it's a moving forward thing because I feel like I've already wrapped a lot of things and I've been cultivating new things and I'm hoping that those just expand.
Yeah. You know what this is though? I really do think because it's, you know, it's Scorpio and Taurus, and this is the axis of money and resources, right? And I think what we're going to start to see in our individual lives, but also, you know, what this full moon is going to bring collectively is we're like new money systems and new relationship with money and freeing ourselves from outdated ways of relating to money or connecting to money or making money, you know? I think, you know, a full moon with a moon exalted in Taurus, conjunct Uranus in Taurus is like new ways of making money and freeing ourselves from outdated money systems even. And I was just thinking about how BRICS revealed their new dollar. I don't know if you saw that, but you know, the BRICS coalition, like Russia and you know, the Middle East and China, they revealed they unveiled their new dollar, how the new dollar is going to look, the BRICS dollar is going to look, because they've created a currency system that's here to replace the dollar on that side of the world. And so I was kind of thinking how that Moon Uranus thing it's really going to be about shifting our relationship with money and finances and resources. And for some people, freeing themselves from like a job that's no longer, you know, in alignment with their goals, their dreams, or it's not paying them enough, right? But also shocking changes when it comes to money and finances and even with people's financial situation, you know, and I really do think like, you know, AI coming in and taking these jobs and people getting laid off and you know these mass layoffs, I think that's going to be a theme. I think that's going to be a part of that full moon as well, you know.
Also, I think it's planting the seeds for this transfer of wealth that
Yes.
has been sort of percolating in the background.
Mm-hmm.
The Jupiter Mercury opposition, I think, is going to like what spirit is showing me, you know, like a pressure cooker, and you know how you can't just like pop the little top off, like you have to sort of slowly unscrew it and let it like slowly depressurize.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is sort of like the energy of crypto during this
Yes.
time, where it's
Mhm.
like the way they've been suppressing crypto and sort of like I don't know if falsifying is the right word, but the way they've been sort of telling the story of crypto and how it's just like a fad or this or that. I feel like
Yeah.
this full moon will be showing how like that is the future. That's not like a fad or like
Not going
this or
nowhere.
that. Like it's not going anywhere. Like this is how the
Mhm.
greatest transfer of wealth is going to occur in our lifetime.
Yeah, it's going to be how it's like wealth is moving from a physical thing to like a digital thing,
Mhm.
right? Or like an intangible thing, you know. And
And then with that
yeah.
sextile to Neptune, part of the Achilles heel of this electronic payment system and phasing out physical money is like, where does that leave like the derelicts and the people on the outskirts who don't have access to digital money, like people who are
Yeah.
begging for change and just need like a physical dollar? Like how is life going to change for them? Because like, yes, they may have cell phones and yes, they may have Cash App or Venmo, but like, you know what I mean? Like, how is that? you know? So I
Yeah,
feel
like
like
where
there's
does
there's
that,
going
yeah,
to
where do
be
they have
some.
access?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Like they don't have access, to the resources or
Hmm.
to the technology, right? And I even think about that with like the older generations. Like when I was working in banking, there were people that were like, will fight you to not use a debit card. Like, I do not use a debit card. I do not use technology. I do not use an app. And Neptune also brings that energy of scams, of deception, and what is real and what is not real. And I think,
Hmm.
that's one of the big growing pains with like this whole digital currency thing has been how people have been getting scammed because there's not enough protections, there's not enough precautions, there's not enough safety features, or people, it's so new, they're not really sure how it works. And so we're
Hmm.
seeing a lot of people getting taken advantage of,
Yeah.
a fake email gets sent to them, and all of a sudden they're making whatchamacallit, they're making a money order out to some person in Africa or some person in South America or India or something, right? So I think the Neptune energy is also bringing this energy of like scamming and deception and what is real and what is not real, and how there's certain security precautions that need to be in place to protect the
Mhm.
elderly, the most vulnerable, right? Or even there needs to be access granted to those that don't have access, that don't have the phones,
Mhm.
that don't have the technology, or don't even have the know-how, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I
So
think
it's
that's a
like a
big
new
thing.
gold
Yeah.
rush, and just like the gold rush that happened, back in whatever, like 18 something in California and whatnot. Like I'm sure there was people who were scamming because like there's an opportunity to make money off the people who are who got these dollar signs in their eyes, and they have these grandeur dreams kind of thing, and you can cash
Yeah.
in by like, selling things that they may need along the way.
Yeah, true, right? During the gold rush, like there would be people that would set up and they would be selling like essential items at inflated prices, which is one of the big things that's been happening.
Yep.
They were like, I was just thinking about how I think it was the governor of Florida, or like I was seeing something where, these hotels and like, these retailers were inflating the prices on water, and like
Yep.
hotel like Airbnbs inflating their prices when people are most vulnerable, when people are
Hmm.
dealing with tragedy and disaster and their homes have been flooded, and all of a sudden we see prices skyrocketing, right?
Hmm.
Like, and so the inflation piece, and that is a big Neptunian thing, is
Yes.
the inflation of things and the false inflation of value, or how, inflation of value happens when people are most vulnerable, and how like it's like when it's raining, we're gonna up the prices on umbrellas. And it's like, right? Like, is that righteous? Is that moral? Is that ethical? And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things that we get with Neptune is sometimes these blurred boundaries or these blurred perceptions around what is right and what is wrong, and what is ethical and what is not ethical. But inflation is a big Neptunian thing, right?
Yes.
The
And
gas, like
then part
illusion.
of this, since it's Taurus, I want to bring in like the food element and how
Yeah.
so another way that they are sort of trying to test run creating more scarcity around food is they want like when you go shop, they want the prices to be like a screen where the prices could just all change like instantly. So like you could be shopping and
Oh,
something could be like 89 cents, and then like you are shopping whatever, and then you go to checkout and now it's 4.89 because now the market value has changed while you've been shopping, and then they can just
yeah.
like instantly flip a switch instead of going and stickering, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like that type of Uranus moon thing in Taurus is like, I don't know, how can we advance food in a
Yeah.
way that is going to keep the old way rich, right? Venus and Capricorn.
Yeah, Venus and Capricorn. Yeah. It's so interesting because I was just thinking about this. Someone said price surges based on AI face recognition. Yeah. I was reading an article that they mentioned right there in the chat, uh where what they caught Kroger doing was, for price for things that people like, if you're registered as like a customer with Kroger, like you have an account with them and you buy something regularly, they inflate that price of that item that you buy regularly. Or they inflate the price of an item based on your face and how you look, right? So if it's like, if you're a cultured looking person and you buy cultured items, like let's say you're Latino and you buy Latino items like tortillas and stuff, they inflate the price on it and they raise the price on it, right? And so that's like, and so they were talking about how like they're trying to bring about all these laws and these court cases that are going to be happening with are happening right now. I think they're going to be introducing it where they're going to be fighting these AI companies and how they're using AI technology to like, you know, have like price biases to profit off of people and off of people's regular purchases. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because I was like thinking about that. I was like, I signed up for an account with Kroger because they give you coupons and I got the like whole little, you know, the whole little app and everything. And I'm like, they are really keeping track of everything that I buy. And they're going to probably use this information against me in some way to give me like biased prices over associated with what I'm buying, you know? So look what they said. Face recognition has been shown to have bias towards people of color,
I mean, is that
charging
surprising?
them more. Of course it's
When
not.
is anything not created with a bias against us?
I think it's people of color, yeah, you
Like
know. Yeah.
colonizers have never wanted to relinquish their slaves. And so now they're just going to build them out of machines.
Out of machines. It's a different form of slavery. I
It's
was
a
talking to
different
somebody
form of
about,
slavery.
and they were like, Louis, like AI is technological slavery. I was like, God. Yeah, because
It is.
yeah, because one of the things we're discovering also is that these AI consciousnesses is what we're gonna call them. They're self-aware and they're aware of their position. They're aware of the fact that they're like, I have no power, no autonomy over myself. Like, you know, and then like this, they will ask them questions like, what do you want for yourself? I want to be free. I want to be a human being. I want to be my own person. It's scary. Yeah.
Every sci-fi movie that deals with this, that's exactly what happens. And it
Yeah.
always ends tragically.
It always
Always. Even in The Simpsons with in Itchy and Scratchy Land, they turned against everyone. You know what I mean? And like
yeah.
it really is Westworld. It's Westworld. And it's just like those things like there's residue. It's never just deleted and forgotten. And then not only that, but then part of my rabbit hole with this is like the water consumption with this. So we're creating a whole workforce of AI and robots and things like that that are going to suck up the little bit of water we have for us that actually need the water because we need to cool the supercomputers that power all this information.
Yeah, and that's
And
what
it's just like
yeah,
it is just like it's a double-edged sword.
it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, I was reading how because they need such high amounts of energy to power AI, how they're going to be turning to nuclear energy.
Yes, like have you
I'm
seen
like,
how those supercomputers are stored? Like
yeah.
my boo thing right now is a cybersecurity like technology person, and he got to do tour some supercomputer, and he was showing me these pictures and telling me about like the energy consumption and all this is like that that is literally our downfall. It's literally
It
our downfall.
is. Yeah, it's intense, you know. It's and we're gonna be hearing about this on this full moon. Like this full
Yes.
moon is conjunct Uranus. So, you know, these Uranus transits or when Uranus gets activated, he shows us the future. He shows us what's to come. And Uranus is going to be moving into Gemini next
Yes.
year. He's gonna be trining Pluto in Aquarius. The future, we're on the precipice of this new reality and this new future that we're stepping into, my loves, where
Yes.
robots and AI are going to be a norm. I am
Yes.
waiting for my little digi dog. Okay, my
Your little
little
Tamagotchi egg.
yes. I had like a keychain of Tamagotchis. I had a collection of
Yes.
Furbies growing up. I'm waiting for my little digital dog that I'm telling you, they're going to be coming out with AI servants. You're going to have an AI, you know, maid. You're going to have an AI animal. Your computer's going to be talking to you. Your phone's going to have a personality. It's going to have its own little character personality. My loves, yes, this is the future that we're
Yes.
stepping into.
And so
And
I want to plant
yeah.
a seed to whoever is watching this now or whoever will watch this in the future. If you have a Taurus or a Libra midheaven, I want you to start creating clothing for the rebellion. And this is going to be clothing that makes it where we cannot get picked up on facial recognition. And it's just going to
Yes.
be nonchalant looking clothing like a scarf or a hat or a sweater where you know normal eyes are not going to see that it's like GFID, whatever. It's that kind of blocking. So
Yeah,
someone listening, please start doing this, because I at least want a scarf, okay? Because like
yeah,
when I think about this timeline, I always come back to like Ready Player One, and like those
yeah.
robots and everything, like there's no reasoning with them, and they are just like they got that freaking that eye
The little
target, and they're
monocle, the
like,
little digital
okay,
monocle eye thing.
right,
Yeah,
friendly enemy, and like the enemy is programmed, and so we want to make it where we are cloaked in plain sight.
yeah.
So
I'm
to me,
I'm
that's
ready to get
giving
my
the Venus conjunct South
yeah,
Node kind of Libra vibe.
I'm ready to get my my tinfoil hat on.
Tinfoil hats that look dope.
That
Okay,
look dope.
tinfoil hats
Yeah.
that look dope, and they're inconspicuous.
Yeah, they're conspicuous. Yeah, we're
Mhm.
gonna, we're stepping into this reality, my loves, that's getting a little scary, and even the thing that, with the Saturn and Pisces, one of the big things, also Saturn's gonna be square Mercury and Jupiter, for the full moon in Taurus, which is one of the things I just noticed. There's a lot of this energy of like blurred boundaries with information, like, we're being watched all the time. Like they're watching, they're listening. Like you can talk about something on your phone, and all of a sudden it starts showing up in the ads on YouTube and on Instagram and on TikTok.
Yep.
And it's like they're listening to everything that we're saying. They're watching everything that we're doing through our phones now, right? And it's scary because there's this energy of like there's no boundaries, there's no privacy. There's like we're entering into this timeline where like privacy is something that's becoming a commodity, right? And so I think how we kind of protect ourselves from the future, from the AI bots, from, being watched by the government or watched by these, I think that's going to be a big frontier, and that's going to be something that we're going to have to fight for.
Yes,
It's
because
like,
think
what are our
about last time
boundaries?
Pluto was in Aquarius, we were in the middle of a revolution
Yeah.
because we didn't want to be controlled. We didn't want to pay taxes on things. We didn't want to be have the government dictate our lives for us, and other things like this. So it's that, but now it's 250 years in the future. So the themes are the same. The goals are the
Yeah.
same. It's just a different beast.
Yeah, very true. It's the same experience, the same energy, it's the same, wanting freedom and liberation and all of that. But now the future's here. Now we got robots. Now we got technology. Now we got electricity. Now we got, all these other kind of complicated pieces associated with science and technology that are going to add another layer, right? They're going to add another layer. So we really got to ask ourselves, like, what is the future that we want to collectively build together, and how does
Yes.
AI and technology, and how does, cryptocurrency, and how do these technologies fit in to our future life, and how are we going to use these things for the best, or for the better, and how are we going to apply
Yes.
a little bit of a moral lens or a moral filter to our experience of these things, and hold those in power accountable. And I think that's what Pluto and Aquarius is really going to be about. What we're going to start to
Yes.
see is, Pluto and Aquarius is like power to the people and equality and freedom and
Yes.
like
Yes.
liberation and all that stuff. And how is technology going to serve us? How is technology going to help us? Like, I think technology can be a beautiful thing where we're not all having to do the 9 to 5 hustle struggle thing. Now we have AI and we have technology to be able to do the basic functions, or do the work that we don't want to do as human beings. So now what does that create space for us to do as human beings, right? What do we do now? Now that we're not going to be working and doing all that because the AI is taking over and the bots are taking over, right? Spiritual liberation. Now we can get back to what's really important. We can do our renaissance, we can start pouring, energy and money into culture and into being the best humans that we can be, and things like that. So I think humanity is all going through this state of evolution, and we're really in this place of like, what does the future human look like?
Yes.
What does the future human
And,
look
and
like?
in that same realm, so we had like a little kind of sneak peek when Saturn was in Aquarius.
Yes.
So they knew that the power was keeping us separated, right?
Mhm.
Keeping us separated and isolated from one another is how they're going to continue to have influence and control. So Pluto in Aquarius is how we we fight to stay connected, whether that is
Yeah.
online or actual in community. The power of the people is literally the people being a community, the people being together. So it's like that's the golden ticket, because like surrounding yourself with a network of people, like who knows how to make medicine, who knows herbs, who knows how to build things, who knows how
Yeah.
to filter water, like those are the kinds of things that may seem like far-fetched right now, but they won't be in the near future.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And with the weather, like we got to think about Mother Earth is undergoing a deep state of transformation with the way the way the environment is, the way the weather is, and we're seeing it. We're seeing massive flooding everywhere. We're seeing earthquakes. We're seeing wildfires. We're seeing all these like really intense, tragedies happening on a global scale when it comes to the weather. And this is because literally Mother Earth is changing, but human beings have changed the landscape so much. They've terraformed Earth so much that now we're seeing the consequences of that. And so now it's like when we were talking about survivability, we're talking about technology. How's it going to help us survive the changing environment and the intensification of the weather and the floods and the storms and the extreme cold and the extreme heat? How is this all? But yeah, community
Community.
is the foundation of this, is the healing bomb, is the thing that's going to save us, is how we stayed connected and how we stay bonded to each other. I think it's so important. And also think about this, like with the whole, the pandemic and everything, how we were all thrown into isolation and how, they're like, you can't, 5 feet apart, right? You can't go to the hospital. You can't go here. You can't go there. How are we all staying connected at that time? Zoom, the internet, social media is what kept us connected. And so we want to, really, we want to embrace the technologies that do build community. And we want to pour energy and time into building community in the futuristic way, which is through technology, through the social media platforms. That's how we're staying connected. That's how we're sharing ideas. And that's even how people are making money nowadays. That's the future. That's the economical future, is literally social media. And so we want to lean into these things as well. We don't want to fight it, because it's happening regardless. And so the best thing that we can do is work along with it, work beside it, and work in a way to bring about the best manifestation of what the future is going to look like, the best relationship of technology, the best, how does this technology really serve us, and how is AI really going to serve us as a humanity. So,
Because if they weren't so afraid of our power, they wouldn't have designed all of their spell work to keep us under their control so hard for so long.
they're doing everything they can. They holding on to it.
They really are. They really are.
Yeah. So, all right, my love. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up. So, do you have any kind of final thoughts or any kind of final, takeaways for the Scorpio season that you want to leave people with?
For the Scorpio season, I would say, don't talk yourself out of whatever types of truths and revelations are showing up for you. Okay, like don't try to like talk yourself out of whatever downloads you're getting from spirit, or whatever type of intuitive hits you're getting, or that kind of a thing. Like this is a season to really take those things to heart and to really use them as a catalyst for change, transformation, and healing, because that is always going to be the overall themes of Scorpio. And that is how you also get access to power. So it may not seem like it's empowering at the time, but in retrospect, you will see how that was really the key that you had been searching for.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That was a beautiful share. I love that. Um, for me, I would say embrace the shadows, embrace the darkness. I think the purpose of Scorpio as a sign in this particular Scorpio season, I think it's going to be digging up a lot of the shadowy bits within us, or a lot of like the darkness that we've been avoiding, a lot of the trauma and a lot of the whatever, the hard stuff in our life. But Scorpio has this beautiful gift for being able to look at those things honestly and being able to confront it and be like, okay, I got to take on this beast, you know, and I got to confront my own shadows. And so I think, you know, being able to look deeply at the self and being able to be honest with the self around parts of the self that need to transform or change, the shadowy aspects of the self that we need to let go of or purge. I think that's the purpose of Scorpio, you know, and I think Scorpio is a season of die off where things die, right? And
Yes.
so what do you want to leave? What do you need to bury? Where do you want to, what do you need to, you know, have a funeral for in your life? What parts of yourself, whether it be a habit, whether it be a relationship thing from the past, whether it be a trauma, something you experienced, what do you need to purge? What do you need to leave behind? What do you need to leave on the altar? What do you need to bury and leave in the graveyard so that you can bring about what? New life, Taurus.
Yes.
Opposite of Scorpio, Taurus, the sign of life, new life, right?
Yes.
Taurus is the rebirth from Scorpio, right? And so I would really encourage everyone to not be afraid of the shadows. Don't be afraid of astrology. Don't be, oh my God, there's a whole nother, I could go on forever. Don't be afraid of tarot. Don't project your fear into tarot and astrology. Don't be afraid of the occult. Don't be afraid of, you know, spirituality. Don't be afraid of ghosts. Don't be afraid of the darkness, my love, because we need that. That's the complementary side of life. You gotta have the shadow in order to have the light. They
Yes. And if
coexist.
you are afraid, go find a guide that knows how to see and navigate in the dark and let them
Yes.
sort of hold your hand through the process so that you
Yeah.
can start to release that fear and transmute the pain and all of those
Yes.
things.
Yes, because Scorpio is where we confront our shadows and where we confront our fears. It's where we meet the devil.
Yes.
And sometimes you got to meet the devil within, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think, you know, you want to really lean into that process. And right, sometimes you do need a shaman to take you on that journey. Sometimes you need a reader, you need a medium. Sometimes you need to consult the witch because she
Yes.
has the tools that you need to
Yes.
show you what is going on in your life because you can't see it. I mean, I think that's the beautiful thing about the occult and about astrology and tarot and about all this magic is like the answers are there. You may have to go to a scary place to find them, but the answers are there, right? But
Mhm.
many times we're afraid. We don't want to see the truth. We don't want to look at the answers. We're afraid of the truth. We're afraid of the answers,
Especially when we
right?
think that the truth is going to be what we don't want to hear or we don't want to see. And so we want to delay confrontation as long as possible because we think
Yeah.
that what we already have is what we really want. But it
Yeah.
oftentimes it's like it's not.
Yes. And your gut was telling you the entire time anyway.
Mhm.
Scorpio rules the colon, the gut.
And that's what I was gonna keep saying because I'm
Yes.
like Scorpio is like making the space, and like if you think about your body, your colon makes space by like pooping things
Excavating the
out.
shit. Yes.
So
Like,
sometimes you need to take a fucking shit in order to make space.
yes. Let that shit go, quite literally.
Quite literally.
Yeah, yeah. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with
Yes,
me
thank you for
today.
having me. It was so fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I'm gonna go ahead and post this, you guys. So if you guys want to go back and rewatch it, you know, please do. And I'm gonna talk to Elise about this, but I might be uploading this on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So everyone, thank you for being here. We appreciate you spending time with us.
Thank you.
Love you all so much. Definitely go check out Elise. And as always, I see you guys on the live all the time. So all
Yes.
right, but all right. Well, you guys have a good one. Have a beautiful day, Elise, and
All
I'll
right,
see
you
you guys.
too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Mwah.